Jidagba. Merry Christmas, everyone, and this is Sports Tonight. I'm Cecilia Omogbe, and of course, it's all about the Africa Cup of Nations. 29 goals scored so far, 6 clean sheets in 12 games. So the first round of matches over, and of course, we'll be focusing on those round of matches, the talking points coming out from there, and also going into the second round of matches that is starting on Friday. Yes, the AFCON organizers did it good to allow players to kind of rest, but of course, you know, these countries that actually, you know, gunning for the title in Morocco, wanting to win the trophy, none of them rested. A lot of them were at training sessions today. Of course, Super Eagles is one of them. They had a closed doors training session today and returned just briefly to their hotel to rest for the night. And tomorrow they continue with that because they'll be playing against Tunisia. That's a top of the table clash on Saturday night. Yes, today's package is focusing on the Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025, and we'll be doing justice to the games that will be going down on Friday, and of course some of the games that went down on Wednesday, especially with the defending champions, holders, reigning champions, Côte d'Ivoire getting their starts. A very bright start, but they were as wasteful as the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So many clear-cut chances, couldn't convert them, but they scored a goal, which was just enough for them to get through, get all 3 points. Amad Diallo, the Manchester United winger, was the one responsible for that. And of course, all the big stars also have been scoring, from Riyad Mahrez to Mo Salah to Mamouche to, of course, Ademola Lookman, which I'm really happy about after a while that has not scored for the national team. Victor Osimhen scored, but it was ruled offside. But you could say, yes, the ball ended inside the net. So these star players are performing. And, of course, the Africa Cup of Nations, the 2025 edition, and, of course, 35th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations is going with a bright start. That's the focus on the show tonight. I'll not be doing all the talking alone. I've got some guests on Zoom. They will join me much later. But right here in the studio, yes, it's been a long time. And whenever you see, you think we want to talk cricket. But no, we're not talking cricket. We are talking the Africa Cup of Nations, because Morocco is doing something big and something huge. You have 24 nations across Africa, all of them gathered in Fez, in Casablanca, in Rabat, in Agadir. Where you can think about all the cities across Morocco. Kind of busy. Sheung Ajibada, it's great to have you join me on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to everyone. Super excited to be here. My first time on Sports Tonight on a Christmas day. And of course, I was racking my brain to say, if I knew this was how this business or this profession was, that you will not have any rest, then I would have had everything. But it's great to talk about the 35th African Cup of Nations. It's a unique Nations Cup, Cecilia. The very first time we'll be having a Nations Cup in winter. The very first time we'll be having the Nations Cup in December. And of course, Morocco is really pulling their weight. And credit must go to the first vice president of CAF, Fawzi Lekja. They're doing something remarkable. And this is more like preparatory for the World Cup that will see them jointly host with the likes of Spain and Portugal.
In 2030, of course, when we were there, you know, during the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, they were using smaller stadiums because the big stadiums were getting ready for this AFCON, more like a test run for the World Cup you mentioned in 2030. Yes, the Africa Cup of Nations getting our attention tonight, of course. Yes, our attention will start, obviously, from home, but that's after this time. Yes, Nigeria and Tunisia, of course. That's the big game that's coming up on Saturday. We'll start the breakdown from tonight because we'll have more time to talk about it on Friday, but we're starting it tonight. Super Eagles of Nigeria, they did not take a break. They had a closed-door training session. So it simply means they are in Fez for big business. Nigeria, Tunisia, since 1964, as far as I can remember, they've been facing each other. So they're not actually strangers when it comes to the Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah, all eyes will be fixated on complex sportive defense, where Nigeria will slug it out with the Carthages of Tunisia. I look at the game, revenge or supremacy. Why I say revenge is, you recall in 2021, just that one shot that the goalkeeper who unfortunately is not part of this squad. Maduka Okoye's field was all the Tunisians needed to progress into the quarterfinal before they were knocked out. And it was very unfortunate because in that competition, Nigeria was the best team in the group stage.
Yeah.
And these Tunisians qualified by the skin of their teeth. It's more like through the back door, and they beat Nigeria. Now, Nigeria also in 2019, I recall in the third place game under General, we beat them by a solitary goal. Odioju Digalo scoring that goal. So it's either Nigeria wants to revenge that loss they suffered, or Tunisia will now say, we want to confirm our supremacy over the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But when you look at the Tunisians, I'm a bit worried by virtue of how they took out the Ugandans, the Cranes. And I say it because, coincidentally, two teams in our group are cricket-playing countries, Tanzania and Uganda. The best of Uganda was back in 1978, where they came second. Tanzania has never even won a game before at the Nations Cup, and we labor to beat them 2-1. And you are facing a Tunisian side who are on a 8-game unbeaten streak. It was 7 before they played Uganda's Paul Put. That 1-1 draw they had against Brazilians. Now it became 8 by virtue of that 3-1 win. It could have been more. You look at a team that played the World Cup qualifier, played 10 matches just like Super Eagles played, won 9 and drew 1 and didn't concede a goal at all. That is on one side. Now, Super Eagles, what do we need to do against these Tunisians? Not like they are not beatable. I've always said that in football, there are two important C's. The chances you create and the chances you convert. If you create chances and you don't convert them, there will be a problem. You look at the starting lineup against the Tanzanian, Stanley Bobo Wabali. I've never been a fan of Bright Osai Samuel. I've always said it, no disrespect to him. Osai Samuel cannot play for my family, let alone Nigeria.
That's kind of harsh. Why are you saying that?
He is not the kind of fullback or flying wing back that you need in a team that can bomb forward and also track back. Zaidou Sanusi.
Do you have option in that position?
Okay, the news I'm also getting from Morocco is that Eric Sekushel is turning between Bright Osai Samuel or Ryan Alebioshu, that young man from Blackburn Rovers. And I think that sometimes you need to take risk. Life is all about risk. Benjamin Fredericks
thinking he should risk Ryan
Alebioshu. Let's see what he can bring to the table.
Samuel.
Yes. You will recall under late Stephen Okechukwu Keshi of blessed memory in 2013 in South Africa, Joseph Yobo played only 1 game. They brought in a certain Godfrey Obuabuna.
But Godfrey Obuabuna was with Super Eagles for close to 3 months, and he was playing in Warrior Wolves in Africa. So we are bringing Ryan, who was born in England, playing the championship to make his debut at a competitive game at the Nations Cup.
I ask you a simple question. Did you know Benjamin Fredericks before? Benjamin Fredericks got his debut at the exhibition game. Gold Cup. And he became a mainstay of the team before he suffered an injury.
Exhibition, that's different. You're talking about competitive games. Like, will you want to risk it as a coach? Will you risk that?
Is he a squad member or not?
He's a squad member. I think Austin Okonakwe is ready to join us. He's in Morocco in Fez, of course, monitoring the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So he's having a close contact with the team. And, of course, you have a lot to say concerning this. Austin, it's been a long time. You left me, Tuesday, you left me alone. No contact, nothing.
Cecilia's party greetings to you. Merry Christmas to you and Shewa Ajidagba in the studio. I didn't leave you. I told you to take care of the family. Take care of home, Cecilia.
You left me alone.
Yeah, I've been listening to you guys. What a moment for the Super Eagles. You know, this AFCON, whether they like it or not, they need to prove something, you know. They need to show workings. I was at the team training session yesterday, and just as Shewa Ajidagba mentioned, what I saw in the eyes of Coach Eric Shell was fire to take risk. He has to do something about it. If everyone feels that Bright Osai Samuel isn't giving what he should be giving, and you have invited Ryan Alebioshu, then we must see the player. He's got good youth football experience in England, played for Arsenal since, I think, 2010 to about 2023. Now plays competitive football in the Championship with Blackburn Rovers. We must see him, We must see Ebenezer Akintomiro again. Tochukwu Nadi showed some flashes right there in that friendly match against Egypt. Let's see them again. So the guys that played the main, that had playing time in that game against Tanzania, they had a light recovery session. They were on one side, just walked around, and then did a bit of, jogging with Coach Fidelis Ilechukwu, and that was it for them. They went back to the bus. But Coach Eric Shell stayed with those reserve players and are having deep conversation with Paul Onuachu, with Ryan Alebioshu, with Ebenezer Akintomiro, Cyril Dessas. Maybe he's considering those guys, because we've seen enough of a particular player or players, and people feel that they are not giving what they should give to the team. When you consider the number of years they've been with the team, then you've got to change it. That's your job as a coach. You must make it competitive. You must let them know it's like you sit right or you sit out, So I'm open for that. He should be able to take risk, do a proper risk analysis, and just find a way to build a system that when you plug in these new guys, 5 of them, then we should start seeing some changes in the team. But that aside, Cecilia, the mood in camp is right. If I came on the show just about an hour ago, I was still with the team. They had a light training session today again. Coach Eric Shea was very, cryptic with it. He said media 10 minutes. We say, no, 15 minutes. And they allowed us. And after that, he sent everybody away. They sent the Super Eagles to the far end of the pitch where we cannot really see what they're doing. But that means they're getting ready right after the game. They've had 2 training sessions now. So it means they understand that game against Tunisia has all or nothing written on it. It's the clash of the Eagles.
Yeah, clash of the Eagles, definitely. And these 2 sides are no strangers to each other, as you mentioned. Just the earliest was in 2020. I mean, the heartbreaking one when Nigeria had a dominant performance at the group stage. But then, when it came to the knockout stage, I think that was our earliest exit. There was a record that was created there, a negative one. But let's just take a look at how Group C is currently standing, with Nigeria, Tunisia winning their opening game. But Tunisia is topping by the virtue of the fact that they had a clean sheet. They didn't concede goal. Looking at the Group C table, after 1 game, of course, 1 win, no loss, no draw, goal difference of 2, and of course 3 points. Nigeria has 1 because they conceded from Tanzania after 1 game. Tunisia and Uganda are yet to get a point. Uganda -2 by virtue of how they lost to Tunisia in their opening game. So these 2 sides, one with a clean sheet, the other with none, but then both on 3 points. And so the stage is set. Who will top it? Who will get a chance to get into the quarterfinals with 2 games to spare? I think we'll find out about that on Saturday night. Let's take a listen to the coach Eric Chell talking ahead of this game, the things he can do differently when they face Tunisia on Saturday night.
The game is the game about the tactical choice, and the 3rd game is for mathematics. So we have. I didn't look what happened before in the last AFCON. I'm very focused about this AFCON, about this team. So Tunisia, like I said, they have a big team with a great coach. So they have their philosophy. We have our philosophy. So my job is now to try to play well against this team, to looking for the winning. I asked to my player to take game after game, so now we are focused in the next game. But I just want to be focused about the present, not before and not after, just the present.
It's all about focusing on the present, not after. And so Tunisia is a big test for Super Eagles of Nigeria. And that will be Saturday night, 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Bolu Omoni is joining us right now. Bolu, where's the Christmas rice?
Well, the Christmas tree is somewhere beside me. True, that's why I'm not sweaty. I'm still eating a bit of it. And hopefully the Christmas period will bring good news for Nigerian sports fans.
Obviously, it will definitely be a good one because everyone wants to celebrate Christmas, not just celebrating it with the rice and the chicken and the turkey, but also celebrating it with victory with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. That's what we're expecting. Just a quick one. What can the coach actually do differently? I mean, Austin and Seun agreed that maybe Osai Samuel needs to sit out and then Ryan can be tried to see the difference which you make when we are playing Tunisia on Saturday night. Do you agree with them?
Well, the first thing has to be mentality for the players. Why? Because there's a bit of issue between Nigeria and Tunisia. They're beating Nigeria at the AFCON, we've beaten them at the AFCON. We've had too many draws between the two sides. We've won via penalties, they've also won via penalties. So this time around, they just need to know that. I've heard many of the players talking about, missing the World Cup. They'll find a way to make sure they repay with performances at the AFCON. This is our biggest challenge so far in this tournament. If it means changing something, we all know what Bright can do. There are a few people that have seen Ryan Alebiosu play football before, so that may be the X factor. The reason you invited him is because you believe in him. Who knows? That may be, sometimes you try new players in some games and nobody knows nothing about him, and they become a surprise. We've seen it with Ben Fredericks. We've seen players do that over time. So if that will be the solution, Bright is brilliant going forward, but a suspect defensively. And against Tunisia, we need to be at our utmost best in every position. So people like Austin obviously would have seen Ryan because he's a neighbor to him where they are in the UK. But here, most people don't know, except you've seen championship game. So if that would be the solution to the defensive lapses, I don't mind having him. I don't mind having Bruno Yemechi on the left side. We just need a more stabilized defense. Their first game against Tunisia showed there's no much synergy between them at the back. They need to solve it against Tunisia because Tunisia are more clinical than Tanzania. But whichever way, like I said, if Ryan will be the solution with the defensive backline on the right, I don't mind. At the end of the day, it is Nigeria that matters, not Nigeria.
That's interesting. Nigeria matters. Now, okay, let's leave Nigeria now. We'll continue with that. Tomorrow we're going to be having the head-to-head of Tunisia and Nigeria. How many times they faced, dating back to 1964 when they started this struggle, both in friendlies, in qualifiers, and of course in Africa Cup of Nations. We'll have that for you on Friday night. But now let's talk about this big one coming from the organizers. According to AFP, they're saying that the organizers of Africa Cup of Nations will be allowing fans to get into the stadium even without tickets, because there are some stadiums that are empty. Shewa, I'll start with you here in the studio. Sources actually told AFP this particular thing. I'm going to ask Austin how true this is, but I'll start off with you now. Before kickoff games, they want supporters to actually enter free, minutes before kickoff, not because sometimes the gates are locked for those who haven't bought tickets, and then maybe towards the end of games, some of them can come in. But this time around, even 20 minutes before kickoff, I mean, those who don't have tickets, more like trying the gate open, similar to that. Is that a good thing because you're having some stadiums being empty?
Yeah, you can look at the cup half full or half empty.
Okay.
It is not good enough that stadiums around are not filled to capacity, because it's about the image of the big one that is coming up. Because I told you that this is preparatory for 2030. I saw the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium get filled for Morocco versus Comoros. Anytime Morocco is playing Sure Banker, you have that place filled. But for the other teams, you also want that place to be filled.
DR Congo game and Benin was filled up. I mean, I think,
yes,
although it was
the area that they spotted is, even before this competition started, Nigeria-Tunisia was already sold out.
Yes.
That was sold out. But I also want the organizers to put measures in place to control the crowd. Because once you start throwing gates open, there might be a problem in managing the crowd. Then secondly, what happens to those who have already bought tickets? Are you going to give them a refund? Because that's why I'm saying that you can look at the cup half full or half empty. While I agree with them that they want the stadium to be
it's just
full,
where stadiums are not full. I think maybe those stadiums, for instance, against Tunisia, that will not happen because tickets has been sold out. Or maybe those that have maybe 60,000 tickets that have been sold, and maybe the stadium is as you have 45,000 capacity stadium or 35,000 capacity stadium. I think those are the ones they're looking at. Let me come to Austin. Austin, you're right there in first years. I know you haven't gone to. I know you'll move around later, but you're with the Super Eagles at the moment. Now, the game, Group F game between Cameroon and Gabon on Wednesday in Agadir, kick off in front of almost an empty stand. But then later, you know, they had the official attendance was announced at about 35,200, and it's a capacity stadium of 45,000. So maybe fans started coming in. You know, it was raining, you know, right there in Agadir at that time when the game was going on. I mean, what are you hearing? What's coming from, you know, the fans? What are they saying? Okay, you're gonna answer this, you know, after this break. So Austin, tell us, what are you hearing right there concerning, you know, fans or supporters may be allowed to enter the stadium before kickoffs, those who don't, for free, those who don't have tickets?
No, not necessarily. I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay.
Maybe not this center, because I'm right here in Fez.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing people have talked about here is the problem with the Yala app. So people are having difficulty with downloading the fan ID. Maybe that's part of the major reason, you know, because I've got persons from London, about 9 of them, who are complaining that they cannot even buy tickets. So people want to buy ticket, and the Patrice Motsepe that I know that is the president of CAF is big on, you know, generating revenue from competitions in Africa. So I don't think it makes any economic sense, you know, to throw the gates open with the Africa Cup of Nations, the AFCON, the biggest football tournament in Africa. There might be conversations about ensuring that we have people come to the stadium, you know, but nah, not that you come in free and then you get in on time. The Nigeria-Tunisia game, just as Sheon mentioned, I know for sure that one is saying online and it's sold out. And that's because Tunisia, they would want to make sure that they're shipping a lot of persons to come give them support. I met officials from the National Orientation Agency, and I told them that this is one way that they can work with the Nigeria Football Federation to rally persons. Even if you bring them from Nigeria, you work with the different embassies to make sure that we bring Nigerians to fill up the stadium, because yes, that game against Tanzania, a meager 11,000 in there. With Nigeria's population in Africa, even in this part of the world, we should be, you know, turning up to support the Super Eagles. So I will give me till tomorrow to get on the streets, speak to some officials of CAF to confirm this free talk. But in Fez, that is not a free conversation.
Because according to the report, there's so many games that have been sold out. Mali, Morocco already sold out. Equatorial Guinea, Algeria sold out. Burkina Faso and Algeria against Burkina Faso sold out. And so these are some of the games. And even the one of next week, Wednesday, Algeria, Burkina Faso already sold out. All their group games sold out. These are some of the groups that have been sold out. But some, you still have tickets available for other group games. And ticket is sold for as low as 100 dirham, which is about $10, you know. So it's really not too big, but I believe that maybe people will get into the business of watching it. Let's leave that one. I don't know if Bolu wants to chip in. You want to chip in something on this free ticket thing? Fans can actually come in 20 minutes before game starts. If you're not paying, like.
Well, it's just a simple thing. It just shows the level we are. If it's so is true on the African scene, irrespective of who plays in Europe, no matter the competition, she will never throw the gates open, and fans would fill at least half of the stadium. So maybe we need to do more. Yeah, I don't think $10 is too expensive to watch your favorite nation to play, but road network is not as great as that. We all know Morocco to be a football nation, and also maybe until I'm even 100% sure as well, it will be surprising. I didn't like the attendance I've seen in Morocco, knowing how big they are with football, but again, it's Africa. Most people hardly watch games that are not for their nation. It's probably the reason why CAF still stuck with the home and away for Champions League finals. The time they decided to do one leg, they didn't get the part. So in this part of the world, we are big on only the nation or team I support. Any other thing, I don't care. So to an extent, it's understandable, but I think it just brings down the value of what the Africa. It's the biggest competition on the African scene. Throwing the gates open, remaining stylishly what the competition is about.
Hopefully, and of course, another talking point is coming from the coach of Mali, Tom Saintfiet. While he was talking ahead of the game against Morocco, he pointed out something that he's not really happy about, kind of complaining that why would CAF, allow Europe and FIFA to pressure them to having the Nations Cup every 4 years, because according to CAF, from 2032, we'll be having the Nations Cup every 4 years, and you're going to be having a back-to-back Nations Cup 2027 and 2028. Meanwhile, 2028, you don't have hosts yet. We don't know who's going to be hosting, but 24 teams, and of course, after that, that leave 4 years, you start having 4-year cycle. That's what CAF President Patrice Motsepe said earlier, during the weekend. And of course, Tom Seffiet is definitely not happy about that, because he felt that African football is being disrespected.
I'm also very shocked with it. I'm very disappointed. 1957 was the first AFCON, and since that period, every 2 years there was AFCON. And it's the pride of African football, the best players from Africa who perform, all the big clubs in Europe who come together, the celebrations of the fans, the honor and the glory of African football. I think we miss respect by going to 4 years. I'm very sad about that. I had hoped that the love for Africa would win above the pressure of Europe.
So that's clearly what he's not happy about, that pressure coming from CAF. I mean, when Tom Seffiet is talking, you understand he has coached Gambia. He led them to the quarterfinals in 2022. He was appointed Mali coach last year after Eric Chell, the current very good coach, was fired, by the Mali national team. So right now he's saying that, look, Africa football is the biggest in the world. I mean, the continent of Africa, you have 54 nations. So obviously, the countries that are coming in, it's the biggest. But right now, the influence from Europe is disrupting what we already know. Our tradition is being ripped apart.
Well,
do you agree with him?
Tom Seffiet is making a valid point, but you can also look at it from the other aspect, which is the players' aspect. As they have left now, some clubs are really complaining that they are losing their...
We've been having this since 1972, right?
Yes. But
so why do we have to start looking at it after so many... This is 35th edition.
I agree with you. But again, some clubs are really complaining about losing the African players to the Nations Cup. And I recall listening to Dr. Patrice Motsepe talking about what they intend to do. Don't forget that we had the Nations Cup in 2012. And we had another one in 2013.
Yes. And then we had 16 nations. Now we are having 24.
Now, what he's also saying is that it will also be more like regionalized before we now play a final. After that 2028, the 2029, we'll be having more like
UEFA Nations League.
It's just like a league.
And then at the end of UEFA the day, Nations League, yes, African Nations League.
And he said the whole essence is that they want to liaise with FIFA and then attract more sponsors. Don't forget that under his stewardship, they've tried their best possible in increasing the prize money. The last time that we had the Nations Cup in Ivory Coast, the winners, which is the Ivorians, they got $7 million. But this one now has been increased to $10 million. So they are trying to look for more money, but again, trying to also align. So you can look at it from the angle of, is it that you don't have a mind of your own?
One,
to say you want to stay with what you believe in, or you just want to, look at the players' perspective and their position in their various clubs.
Okay. Austin, Austin, this is a discussion that we didn't know we were going to be bringing it in, but Tom Seffiet is actually taking us back, to what happened at the weekend when he complained loudly at a press conference that this is being disrespectful. What do you think? Because if you look at, if you want to protect players, for instance, you don't create more competitions. The Champions League, for instance, they have to like a league format, and then you have the champions playing each other, and then you have the FIFA Club World Cup that had like how many clubs participating. FIFA's created more competitions. Europe, they've created more competitions. But in Africa, you want to shrink it to every 4 years. What do you think?
Cecilia, if they don't create more competitions, how do we make more money?
He was talking about players.
Some level of,
okay.
How do they put market competition into the conversation? It's all strategic. It's marketing. I cannot blame Patrice Motsepe, even if you take a look at what's going on in Europe. Remember when Rodri complained, oh, too much contingent. The club told him, hey, keep quiet.
But he got injured and he didn't play for almost a year.
Of course, and then he went to the Euros and was MVP. And he's getting big money from Manchester United, from Manchester City. What Patrice Motsepe is trying to say is we need to up our game in Africa. And the best way to do this is to make sure that we are competitive in the market. And this is the first way to start. Give it this 4-year plan and then see where we can go with it. Just so they can now put more market research in place and see how we can make money. Now they have upped the prize money for the AFCON to $10 million. It sounds good. It's befitting. But Patrice Motsepe and his team, they are pushing. I said for once that I know we cannot copy Europe for everything they are doing and all of this and all of that. But when the market is going in one direction, you follow it till you find your level and then you turn or you start leading your own market conversation. For now, Patrice Motsepe and his team, they've checked it that Africa cannot do that. Okay, we've been doing this AFCON every 2 years. Most of the countries that have hosted, can we compare what we saw in Cameroon to what we saw in Cote d'Ivoire? No. Can we compare what we're seeing in Morocco now to what we saw in Cote d'Ivoire? No. But imagine if you make it 4 years and people know that the long-term objective is to come and give us something far better than what we saw 4 years ago. I think that speaks a bit of development.
Bolu here, the takeaway for me from Tom Sefiet is the fact that he says if this was coming from Africans, you know, the countries involved in the Nations Cup, the players, and even CAF executive, maybe from the Congress. But he's saying that it's pressure from Europe and FIFA that is allowing CAF to actually change their mind. I mean, that's what he's taking away from this.
Well, I'm not sure it'll be Europe, but I'm very sure FIFA, since Infantino came on board, he has he's tried to get involved in many things, especially on the African side. Remember, when World Cup was increased to 24, we had already started the qualifiers for 16, and suddenly, boom, moved it to 24. Look at this AFCON, we are playing December, Christmas period, because of FIFA. This was supposed to be in the summer. Then suddenly, they brought the FIFA Club World Cup, they had to move back on it. The Gold Cup was played during the same Club World Cup. They did not change for anybody. When they start to play the Asian games, the Asians don't care what competition is going on. The players will leave their clubs and represent. It's only Africa where we have loads of complaints, change, and here and there. So I think it's more like picking the first point from Sheon that we don't have a mind of our own. Anything the FIFA says, oh yes, we take it. They're picking the other part from us. I don't pity players that say they play too much. Nah, I always give reference that there's no single player in the NPFL that earns $2,000 per month. Not a single player. Then when it starts for Super 6, they play every other day. Then imagine you tell NPFL players, let's pay you $5,000 per month to do well. If you are playing for a big club, you should expect to play more games. If you are playing for a big national team, you should expect to play more games. And like Austin said, the more games, the more competition, the more money. If you want to earn more, you should be ready to play more games. So I'm not a fan of when we were doing, we were not able professionals. You don't have this. You play 3 hours in the morning, play 3 hours at night. We didn't care. We played. So now that you are well treated, well played, well taken care of, everything, there's more science to it. Don't complain about football. If you want to complain, play for a small club. Everything, I don't think they ever play 45 games every season. They play league games, FA Cup, maybe they play 2 matches, they are out. Carabao Cup, maybe 2 or 3, they are out. So if you are playing for an elite nation and an elite club, be ready to play more games. So I don't pity those that say too many games. The more money you want, the more games. But for Africa, I think it's FIFA, Infantino especially, that is deciding the things we are getting from here. I'm a big fan of the AFCON. It's easier to plan. Speaking from what he said, we've been doing this AFCON for years. We know it is January, February, and any year it's holding. To plan that, but now we play January, February. The next time we play June, July. Now we are playing December, February. That's why many don't even respect their purpose. Now we have 4 years, there is really nothing we can do. Let's see if they will plan well for this every 4 years. If you have 4 years and you have to postpone AFCON again, it means you don't have a plan. Let's see what they can do with this every 4 years now. Maybe that's what Africa will need to host a better competition with better games.
Hopefully that happens. We'll keep watching and see what's going to happen from 2032 when the first 4-year plan will start. All right, let's take a look at games that will be played on Friday. Of course, that will be where our focus will be on right now. We're starting out with Group A fixtures at the 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco. Zambia and Comoros. Zambia left it late to get a point off Mali. It ended 1-1. And of course, we'll be up against Comoros, who lost to Morocco by 2-0. And the second game for Friday is Morocco and Mali. Morocco, of course, a clean sheet, also winning their first game against Comoros. They'll be hosting Mali, who need this more than even the Moroccans. Moroccans play in front of their home fans. You know what usually happens when they will be home. Let's take a look at other fixtures. We'll go to Group B right now. What is happening in Group B? The games for Group B, you have Angola and Zimbabwe will be in action, Egypt and South Africa. So this Group B fixtures all taking place on Friday. We'll quickly run through Saturday's games before we move on to the next one. If we have Saturday's games, quickly run through that one. That's the Group C fixtures. I think we can do that tomorrow, yes. This will be our focus for tonight. It's going to be starting off with, Morocco. But before we do that, the coach of Sudan, Kwesi Appiah, former coach of Ghana. Ghana, they're actually not at this Nations Cup, yes, but they qualify for the World Cup. But they are not here at the Nations Cup. Their former coach, who is currently coaching Sudan, had to explain what actually happened against Algeria, where Riyad Mahrez scoring a brace for them to beat Sudan 3-0. Of course, they were down to 10 men.
Yeah, it was a very competitive game. I knew that Algeria has got a very good team with top professionals, but we started giving them a good game until the referee decided to take one person out, and tactically it destroys our style of play. And looking at the experience that Algerians have, you know, they capitalize on our shortage, and the result didn't end as it is now. We all know the problems in Sudan. As at now, for the past 3 years, there's not been any league. And for that reason, it becomes very difficult to pick players. All players that I'm relying on now are players from either Hilal or Merrick, or some few players in Libya. So, as a national team, you need to have a whole scope of the whole nation, and then you can pick players. But in this situation, which is not anybody's fault, you need to rely on players available.
Not an easy job at all for Kwesi Appiah right there in Sudan. Austin, I mean, you're nodding. I mean, war is something. We're just praying that there will be peace in Sudan at last, so that players can actually play football and not be afraid of what's going to happen next. Let's quickly take a look at the table. Our Group A table. As usual, one round of matches are played. And of course, Morocco topping 3 points, goal difference of 2. You have Mali on 1 point, Zimbabwe on 1 point, Zambia on 1 point, and Comoros no point. So Morocco is standing, you know, a class above the rest. That's what this group is looking like. For the Moroccans, Austin, I mean, this is their Nations Cup, because they're thinking this is the time for them to win it. They want to host a Nations Cup and then someone come and take the trophy home. And of course, they're ready for it from the way they started.
No, but Cecilia, that can happen. It's football where anything can happen. I was saying big ups to Comoros with the way they set up against Morocco in the first half, you know, until that Brahim's goal broke them. They played the high line so well, showed no respect, you know. And I think if Mali comes out with that same mentality and push them, I keep saying it, that when a team is playing football at home and they have so much support, they will be under pressure. But Shemun Ajidagba, let me get you talking. Morocco, I think they're building and sustaining the momentum that they've had in the past. And I think that's what is working for them. But do you think if they meet a team that can match them with good offensive football, you think they can break?
Yeah, Austin, absolutely. I saw the game between Morocco and Comoros. The Comorans in the first half were a bit cagey, and they reduced these Moroccans to nothing. But the second half, they opened up, was why they conceded 2 goals. Even the penalty that was given to Morocco, to be honest, I thought it was a manufactured penalty. the reason they lost that penalty. But the goal of Ibrahim Diaz, first time playing for Morocco, and the one of Yusuf El Kadi, already contending for the goal of the tournament, that overhead kick was brilliant. And facing these Malians who are a bit technical, the reason they defeated Comoros was because, you know, Comoros, by extension, you just think that they are just there as a newbie or a greyhound. But facing a Malian team that is very, very expensive, Mali will be kicking themselves that they allowed that last-minute goal. So I think that this game will be difficult for the Moroccans. Sadly, Roman Saiz, their captain, is injured, and I don't know the fitness level of the African Footballer of the Year, Ashraf Hakimi.
That's hard, right? Bolu, the Moroccans, I mean, they'll be facing Mali. I mean, we know how Mali, their composure, what they did against Zambia, but then somehow consider that late-minute goal. Can they go all out?
Well, Mali have been a threat to everyone since the last Africa Cup of Nations. We saw how they performed under Eric Shell. The loss was so painful for them. Now they built up from there again. The reason Shell was sacked is not based on their AFCON. It was based on this poor start to the World Cup qualifiers. Now the way they play like the guys I mentioned, they play like a compact team. They don't have the greatest individual players, but as a team, they are more compact. I do think Morocco plays more European style with a bit of jambody like the regular Africans, which makes them different from most of all those North African sides. But if they think it's going to be easy like it was against Comoros, against Mali, they have to think twice. Mali almost won their first game, like we said. Morocco are the better team, of course, on paper. They are the better team in terms of individual quality, but they have to play much more than they did in the first game if they want to defeat Mali. Everything works for them. I've said it before. Everyone that wants to play against Morocco at this AFCON, they are literally playing against maybe 15 people. The fans definitely will wear you out. Your decision has to be perfect for the ref to give. For example, if you win a penalty against Morocco, it has to be very, very clear and obvious before the ref will give it. But a penalty for Morocco doesn't have to be very clear and obvious. It's like touch and everything goes to their people. That's part of the old advantage they have. They have the squad, they have the players, they have the technicality, they have the coaching. But the question is, can they bring out the resilience of the Malian side? I'm sure we'll get to find that out tomorrow.
It's a big one. Another top of the table clash happens to be South Africa and Egypt. Yes, these two sides won their opening games. So let's listen to the South African coach and also the captain talking about Lion Foster, you know, the guy who scored that calm, cool, collected goal for them to get it past Angola. Listen to them, of course, take a look at the table, what it's looking like, and we'll get our analysts in the studio talking.
The favorites for the group. Who do you think?
A very good team, 7 times I think AFCON winner, record holder, so that means something. And they have some amazing players like Salah, like Marmoush. So we know them well, but at the other side we are confident. Again, we're looking forward to play the game of tomorrow. Very important for us to get maximum points, and I think that helped a lot now going into the rest of the tournament. So yeah, the morale in camp is good. It's been always good, spirits are high, and we're just confident and ready for the next game.
We have 3 more questions, and
all right, we're out of time on this one. Right, that's South Africa coach Hugo Broos, and of course the captain Lion Foster. Austin, we're wrapping up. Just a quick one. Familiar heavyweights, Egypt and South Africa, both of course won their opening games.
Yeah, you know, but it was a bit nervy for the Pharaohs of Egypt. I think South Africa did just enough to win, you know, their first match. This would definitely get us talking. Now we're getting into the proper stage of the AFCON where we can say it will be competitive. Now we'll start having the upsets, Cecilia. And look, the big guys show that they can actually get the results. But the big question is, can they go bigger in the second round of matches? I think it is going to be very, very tough. So let's brace up. I think that's where the curtain falls on this edition of Sports Tonight on Channels Television. In Fez, Morocco, venue where the Super Eagles are competing for a 4th AFCON trophy. I'm Austin Okonakpan. In everything you do, remember. Let's keep talking sports. Bye for now.
Bolu, just a quick one on South Africa. Egypt.
Well, it's a similar situation in the Nigerian group. The two big teams are expected to qualify battling each other. If anyone picks 3 points, obviously in the second round, the other one has to fight hard. But it's going to be tough. 2 of them have won AFCON, even though we know Egypt is the greatest. But like Austin said, Egypt struggled. South Africa, 2 a bit, but both of them got points in their first game. It's going to be tough. This is the one that will show the best team among both of them in the group. I may just maybe edge towards Egypt a little bit.
Thank you so much, Bolu, for joining us tonight on the show. Hopefully, you'll be in the studio next week. Hopefully. Ashe, just a quick one. South Africa, Egypt, for roll it on out.
The most successful team,
yeah,
but was a team that won when they hosted. Morocco are also trying to become the 15th nation to host and win. It's going to be very interesting. I like to see that battle. Like Foster, and of course, Mohamed Salah, Omar Mamouche, Tebomo Kwena, Ronwen Williams, the goalkeeper, Osama San versus Ugo Bruce. But something tells me that the game is finally poised and it's going to end in a draw.
Interesting, right? It's all about the Nations Cup right on Christmas Day. Ashe, thank you so much for coming to the studio tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Morogbe. Merry Christmas again. Good night.